So this is a story of my high school love and how we got back together recently. And yeah, and the story begins actually with a yearbook, and that's me looking like a dork up there. And when we got the yearbooks at the end of freshman year, of course, you have to run around and get everyone to sign it, and kind of get the cute girls especially to try to sign it. And I took it home that night, and I'm poring over everything. Yeah, I got a phone number. That was pretty awesome. And I'm like looking, and I noticed on one of the back pages, like with the advertisements, someone had written, can you see that? They were like, "You're fine." And I was like, oh my God, I have a secret admirer. This is awesome. But the problem is all I have to go on are these like 9 little letters, right? So I have to go back and look at everything again and have to like compare all the letters, right? And I think this was the first time in my life I really started to look closely at letters and notice how like different patterns like match up, and people do it all differently. And so it's like, okay, it can't be Amy because she makes a kind of loopy F, and Alyssa does this like kind of like double thing there, but Todd kind of makes his straight, so maybe. So the point I'm trying to make is that letters are really, really cool, and we take them for granted and we use them all the time. And so I want to talk a little bit about the past and like where we get these crazy little symbols that we look at all day, and some really exciting stuff which is happening right now. So the first letters ever is like 4,000 years ago. This is some graffiti in a tomb in Egypt, or in this cave. Like the first time, the shape of the pattern just meant to pronounce a sound and didn't represent the thing itself. So a few hundred years later, you get the Phoenicians, and they have the symbol for an ox, which they start using for anything which has the sound of the ox, which turns up, gets rotated over the centuries, and becomes our letter A today. Can you see like the ox? It's so cool. And so then you get a few hundred years later, you got the Greeks, and the Greeks give us another great invention, and that's vowels. So before that, you only had consonants, and you kind of had to guess what the things were in between. But there's something that the Greeks still don't have, which is very important, which we had to wait for the Irish to give us hundreds of years later: spaces. So like the best letter that you never really appreciate. And they also gave us like beautiful lettering. For the first time, like people really like started, it becomes an art. And so in general, you have like hundreds of years of evolution happening, and people are copying these things by hand. And so you get slow evolution. So like this is how we get the letter A, right? Starts with the capital, and they go slowly like morph it, and we end up with that. The letter G is also a favorite of mine. Have you ever wondered, like our lowercase g looks so different from like the upper one? But it's all because of this like gradual evolution, people copying it a little different, getting a little creative here and there. Other letters came more from like just slamming letters together. Ever wondered why like W is not like a double V, because it looks like a double V? That's because like they were actually the same letter, V and U, like didn't split until like the late Middle Ages, but we already had the name W. So we all know handwriting is dying, right? Like kids aren't learning that anymore. It's all like texting now. But it's not really the case. And this is what I've relearned in the last year. Like the kids and the graffiti artists are getting back into calligraphy and lettering. This guy is Shu in Amsterdam. He even coined the term calligraffiti for this kind of like new movement which is coming. This guy is Pokars Slampras in Moscow. He does all the stuff like writing on people. It's a bit sensationalistic, and his other stuff is just really incredible, the work he does. Let's see, and then who's the next guy? Retna, okay. Retna is in LA. He makes these really fantastic, like abstract stuff. If you stare at it, there actually are letters in there, but he's like pushing it way in the abstract, but it's just gorgeous patterns coming out. And this is actually me like finding my love again. I've gotten way back into it, taking a break from tech. This is like with a rake on the sand down in Ocean Beach a few weeks ago. So if you see me there, I'm not crazy. And there's so much more happening right now. I'm like super excited about it. We've got like classically trained artists learning letters in Africa with Arabic calligraphy. This guy's in Japan, in Florida. It's just some amazing work. So if you haven't thought about letters before, I would encourage you to look into it. I am Wandering Stan on all services, and I've got links to some of the people in the field today. So check it out and appreciate your letters.